speaker bios, and we can get into the presentation. So first off, we have Dan Giles, who's a roadway section manager for HDR Mechanicsburg. And he is a graduate of California State University at Fullerton with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. So he's their roadway section manager, again, in their Mechanicsburg office, and he has over 30 years of experience, almost entirely devoted to highway. So definitely Ashley aligned here with the roadway section. And he's Pennsylvania, he's worked on a lot of projects with Pennsylvania Turnpike as well as PennDOT over the years. And he's currently the agreement manager for the Digital Delivery Directive 2025 project, working with Alan Melly. He's of PennDOT in Harrisburg, and he graduated from the University of Pittsburgh, Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering. He's been with the department for about 20 years, or over 20 years, I should say. Great career there, Alan. And he started his career in District 9. Then he went through the design ranks, and then he relocated to central office in 2016, where he currently resides. And then he's held the position of project development engineer and local project delivery unit leader. And he is now on a special assignment leading the Digital Directive 2025 initiative. So great teamwork here. We're really pleased to have this presentation and looking forward to it. I will now hand it over to you to start the presentation.
All right. Good.
All righty. Thank you. Again, my name is Alan Melly, and I am PennDOT's lead for the Digital Delivery Directive. Today, we would like to cover basically what is the difference of digital delivery. What is digital delivery? What's driving this change? The benefits? What's PennDOT's vision of moving towards this direction? How are we going to achieve that? You know, what's the timeline that we have laid out, the strategic plan that we have developed? How are we going to sign and seal those models? The keys to success and our continual outreach. So some of us here may remember the pictures there on the left, and most of us should recognize the pictures on the right. We drew on the boards in 1980, and today we are now, drawing electronically in the CAD environment. For this, I like to use an analogy of, the evolution of televisions. On the left, we have the cathode ray television, and on the right, we have a high definition television of today. It all completes the same sort of processes, but today has a lot more technology and availability and aspects that we've never been able to use before. So why would I take all of that capability that is available in that smart TV and put rabbit ears on it and get the most basic of signals that we have? That's what we're actually doing with our design processes. We take our designs, which some of us are already doing in a 3D environment, and then basically dumbing that down to 2D plans. Why? Because that's how we've always done it. That's the way we know how to do it. So in the analogy of the TV, it's that cathode ray picture on a high definition TV. Why? Because that's how we've always done it. So it's really a time to embrace a new way of doing things. Stop taking that smart data that we're developing in design and creating in construction and breaking it into less meaningful pieces. So really rethink how we approach the whole project delivery process, and the outcomes are limitless. We have so many possibilities, and get away from that thinking of, but that's how we've always done it. We need to think outside of the box. So to start off a lot of our presentations, I like to give a description of what we see as digital delivery. You can ask many different organizations, and you might get a little bit different sense of what is digital delivery. But for the department, the basic, way we can describe digital delivery is really building deliverables that are both human readable and machine readable at the same time. So digital delivery is really that use of digital data to deliver projects. We want to transfer all of the relevant information from design to construction to asset management. Right now, again, we take those 3D designs, break them down into 2D plan sheets, submit them out to the contractor. They build off of a 2D plan sheet, and we inspect off of a 2D plan sheet. There's a lot of information that could be very useful. So we want to transfer that information from design to construction. And then in construction, as they're placing all of the different assets, to be able to transfer all of that information back to our asset management system without having to manually input all of that information as we move through the various process. Digitize all of the project development process and to keep that life cycle of a project moving digitally. So it's going to offer us a new way to view and understand these projects that are, in design. We'll be able to see the interaction of the roadway project, the road and bridge together in ways that we've never been able to see before in 2D plans. And it will be our way of capturing as-built information as we complete these construction projects. If we have an issue with, say, a paint line anywhere across the state, we'll be able to query where a certain type of paint line was installed, type, when, manufacturer. We'll be able to gather all of that information as we move forward. So what's driving this change? I mean, the amount of data is becoming very hard to manage, and it's only going to exponentially grow over the next few years. So not only managing this data or creating it, it's how we're going to manage this data. So there's been a study done here not too long ago that showed that employees spend an average of 1.8 hours a day searching for information. So that's only going to exponentially grow if we don't manage our data correctly. So there's all kinds of new technology that's coming out that's going to enable us to do these models. The Bentley product, the Autodesk product, the Allplan software. Most highway agencies within the next year or so will be on the newest platform that you see from one of these software providers. It offers us that new functionality of, that dynamic change propagation and smart objects on these modern platforms. So it's going to be easier for us to develop these models and move forward. So, but what all does this really mean? So, we want to produce, products and projects using this model-centric approach for design and construction. So all the typical items that we would see today on a normal traditional set of plans will still be included in that CAD model. So you'll see details. So we'll be able to attach details as PDFs. You'll be able to attach the calculations, spreadsheets directly into these models to be able to convey that design intent to the contractor very easily. We'll be able to add photos, videos, Word documents, etc., in order to, again, give that design intent of what exactly it was that we intended on these plans. So it is going to be a paradigm shift, and it's going to be a mixture of 2D and 3D objects. So that some of the 2D objects may be right-of-way lines, paint lines, construction limits, again, but that 3D model will represent the overall design intent of our project. We'll be able to view profiles, cross sections directly in the model. So we'll get away from, cutting all of those sheets of cross sections. They'll all be in the model as we move forward. So again, the model will be the document of truth, and it'll be contractually binding. But we do realize there will be some plan sheets still necessary. Like right-of-way acquisition and recording. We in Pennsylvania have just recently gotten our courthouses away from accepting microfilm. So it will be some time before they actually accept models. So, with that, we'll still have to provide plan sheets, coordination with outside agencies that may not be ready for models, working with, utilities and railroads. Some will be ready for it, some will not. So we may still have to produce plan sheets, but that model will still be the primary document of truth as we move forward. So what are some of the benefits of moving towards digital delivery. So you can see it in improved design quality, reduced risk and project costs, increased construction efficiency, and improved as-built records. So let's take a look at the improved design quality. Once everybody starts designing using the model-based approach, it will be easier to review the quality of the design intent. A 3D environment will allow us to view the design in ways that were not possible with 2D plans. And a model-based design approach will give us the opportunity to review our design intent before we bid the projects. And we'll be able to see the roadway and bridge details together and find issues earlier on. So moving in this direction, this chart here represents basically the black line is a plan-centric approach. This is where we put little or less time into that detailed design and more into the plan sheet development. That is our current process. It takes us quite a while to develop those plan sheets and to get them to meet, whatever standards that are required. We want to move that line to the green line, line 4, where that's a model-centric approach where we're able to add more detailed designs and we won't have to spend that time in the plan sheet development. Earlier on in the project, we have the ability to affect the cost of the project a lot easier at the beginning, so it's a lot cheaper to make bigger changes than it would in a plan-centric approach where those costs of plan changes are so much more. So as we look at the 3D models, they're going to produce more accurate designs and allow us to enhance our project coordination and quality reviews, especially when it comes to the utility conflicts, but also design errors and admissions. The 3D design will, allow us to identify constructability issues early on, so that will translate into a reduction of change orders in unforeseen conditions, which, again, you'll see here in a moment, account for a good bit of the cost of change orders. So these subsurface utilities were identified in the 3D model. So they're done to a quality level, I believe it's D. So they're shown as ribbons. So they show the area that represents where that utility could be. So they're going to be able to identify those soft clashes, hard clashes, as we move through the design of these projects to help minimize those change orders as we move to construction. So as we were speaking, the change orders account for nearly 5% of the construction contract value. So with digital delivery, we hope to identify these 3 areas where we see that we could reduce a lot of those change orders. So our plan quantity changes, unforeseen conditions, and plan errors and admissions. With that higher quality design, more detailed design, we are hoping to be able to realize these costs and savings as we move forward. So in addition to the 3D deliverables, contractors will be able to leverage their automated machine guidance and survey instruments to check the grades. Today, some of the contractors are developing their own 3D models from the plans that we provide to them, which hopefully will be able to eliminate some of that step, have them trust the model that we are providing to them to be able to put right into their automated machine guidance. During construction, inspectors can utilize their mobile devices and modern, the model viewing software, which will provide both graphical representation and information in on their platform. So the 3D models will be able to extract the attributes or properties from a lot of our e-construction applications that we have. We are a big e-construction state in Pennsylvania, so we're always looking for all of these e-construction and mobile apps moving forward. As the model is created, we're going to be able to click on that item, view the pay item, number, units, level, all of the relevant information that we would need for that item as we are designing and constructing this. So that also would be information that either design would need to know, construction, or asset management. All of that information would be attached to that model to be able to carry through that entire life cycle of the project as we move it through. So then we get to the improved as-built records. Today, we get a red line plan that bubbles around, an item that changed. So if we have the example here, guide rail, we'll have our tab and summary sheets with crossed out line that shows exactly what the quantity changed, but that's what we get back as far as what the change was made. With 3D models, we will get back the exact location and identification of where that asset was changed. We are going to require a 3D model to come back from the contractor as a digital as-built as we complete this project. That way we'll be able to bring all of that information into our asset management systems to be able to track all of those assets exactly where they were constructed as we move forward. So PennDOT's vision is by 2025, construction projects will be bid using 3D technology and no longer be in the traditional construction plan format. This will include the also plans, which is your TCP, your ENS plan, and so forth. But now we do realize there will be some plans that do not necessarily lend themselves to being done in 3D. But that does not mean they will not be done digitally. Again, we want to transfer all of that digital information from design to construction to asset management. So with that, I will turn it over to Dan Giles to present on how we plan on achieving the vision of going digitally. Dan?
All right. Thanks, Alan. So like Alan said, let's talk about how we're going to achieve PennDOT's vision. PennDOT contracted our consultant team, led by HDR, to really develop and execute a 5-year strategic plan. We began that by engaging with a large number of internal and external stakeholders, really to seek input and document concerns people had, find out what the challenges were that need to be addressed, as well as really identify opportunities that we have that we can capitalize on. So the implementation team then really worked on a multidisciplinary strategic plan, or with a multidisciplinary strategic planning committee to help processes, assess technological capabilities, as well as the department's current digital delivery maturity, really to help us to create a list of activities that we needed to focus on in the next 5 years. Our goal was to provide a solid set of policies, standards, training manuals that really guide one consistent PennDOT approach for digital delivery. The slide here shows the stakeholders that we interacted with. Obviously, the department, Federal Highway, the PA Turnpike Commission, ACECPA, as well as the contractor community through APC. And then the folks on the firms on the right side of the screen are the consultant team for digital delivery. So where are we right now, and where are we headed? This graphic is a pretty basic sequence of events for digital delivery implementation. As I mentioned earlier, we began with the planning phase in 2020, which culminated with the development of a strategic plan. And phase 1 has really set the stage for phase 2, which is the bulk of the initiative. We moved into phase 2 in late 2020, and since that time, we've been evaluating current processes and procedures for project delivery, reviewing CAD standards, assessing asset management practices, really starting to get started with initial pilot projects. And the goal is that by the time we hit 2024, 2025 timeframe, we'll be able to have a complete updated set of policies and procedures on how to deliver a project digitally and be able to deliver a project with the model as a legal document. So the digital delivery roadmap here illustrates kind of that path forward for the directive. 2020, as I said, it was the development of that strategic plan. Here in this year in 2021, we're really focusing on some quick start tasks, really things that are low barrier to entry type efforts. And then in the future in 2022, we're going to begin to implement the modeling standards, really with a concentration on roadway design. In 2023, we'll start to see introduction of bridge components into the directive. 2024, an introduction of drainage as well as advanced asset management requirements. And then in 2025, the department will have that ability to deliver digitally with that model as the legal document. In each year we'll pilot various aspects of the project delivery process and build on each case with increasing complexity year after year. So here again, just to kind of walk through the roadmap, 2020 or 2021 is those quick start tools, things like a model review checklist, really spending some additional time looking at procurement language, how things with these changes impact both consultants and contractors, looking at developing a project execution plan template, and then also having some of the initial pilots are things like looking at Concept Station, which is a visualization product through Bentley, as well as looking at a guide rail as-built pilot project or a series of pilot projects. 2022, as I said, is like kind of focusing more into the roadway modeling requirements, working with modeling standards, really being focused on education and training, as well as continuing, with more advanced pilot projects as well. And again, 2023, we start to see the implementation of bridge and construction modeling requirements added in. Again, the same kind of focus on standards and education and training, and just advancing the pilot projects with each year as we go. Later into 2024, those drainage requirements. Then 2025, really having that standardized digital delivery process developed. So a little bit more detail for this year, for 2021, as it relates to things like process mapping, we've spent a lot of time looking at the current design and construction phase processes and mapping those out so that we can match that up with how things will change with digital delivery, as well as looking at what happens to the information at post-construction, as Alan indicated, like as we go to asset management and things like that. We've looked at the policies and the standards and guidelines, doing a software and hardware review throughout the department just to see where that stands and what improvements will need to be made. Again, like I said, we've spent a lot of time looking at procurement language and the changes that will have to come about to scopes of work and WBS codes and things like that moving forward as we start to incorporate digital delivery into projects. And then we developed a glossary of terms so that really everybody, as we're talking about delivery, we're all kind of speaking that same language. As far as CAD standards and support, like I said, a lot of things related to setting modeling standards, development of a model element breakdown, which really is a very key feature moving forward with the modeling aspects, determining level of development specification. As you step through the various phases of project delivery, how much detail has to be done for each one. We all have a, kind of, if you've been in the industry for a while, you have a good idea like what's needed at line and grade and what's needed at design field view. We need to kind of lay that out as it relates to the models too, moving forward. And then we've been providing support for ORD as far as really evaluating the department's maturity level with that, looking at their training documentation, how the data is organized, and helping to develop workflows with that as well. So some of the pilot projects for this first year, as I had mentioned earlier, we've developed a BIM execution plan as to how things will process through. We've looked at requirements for getting those as-built records back. One of our initial pilot projects is getting starting very, in a very small scale, but getting guide rail information back from contractors and how that's going to interface on the back end from asset management. We've developed a model review checklist. So as we're designing in a model centric from a model centric viewpoint, how do we check those models? Right now we check plans, but we need the same kind of processes for checking our models in the future. We're working on pilots that, or a series of pilots for introducing single project PDF. And what that means is really, initially, we're going to try some pilots where we're replacing roadway construction plans and profiles with what is more like a roll plot PDF. And that's really to kind of get the construction community used to not receiving our deliverables in a sheeted plan form, because ultimately we're going to go to that deliverable being that model, and as well as looking into options for rapid visualization. Some of the video that was on the screen was from Concept Station, and it gives real opportunity to do some really early design work and provide a quick visualization of that design. So some of the focus of our pilot projects really is to roll out digital delivery workflows in a manner that allows the PennDOT districts to build the new technology progressively into their process over the life of the project. Our goal would be to have pilots across all of the districts every year that's incorporating the digital delivery workflows. Then these pilot projects will likely include some kind of consultant design projects as well. We need to see both sides, that viewpoint from both sides, whether it's from the department side as well as the consultants. So within that in mind, PennDOT is utilizing the Bentley ORD software currently. Even though PennDOT's not set a specific time frame for consultants to begin designing an ORD, it's really important, I think, to mention that consultants, particularly wishing to be involved with some of these pilot projects, begin to familiarize yourselves with the software. So once we're completed with some of the pilots, the results will be evaluated by the Digital Delivery Directive 2025 Governance Committee. And those results will be rolled out to all districts if they're found to be successful and useful. These pilots are going to be pieces of the process. As we find success, they're going to be implemented moving forward towards a full implementation by 2025. We can't wait until 2025 and then just flip the switch on everything. And as I said, every year, we plan on piloting projects in each phase of the process, whether that's design going to construction, in the construction phase, as well as construction going to asset management. So our plans for the future years are, at this point, a little bit less well defined. We're starting to kind of fill in the blanks there. We're going to be advancing defined use cases through the Agile process. More mature things like roadway design will be more widely piloted by the time we get into the later years, and we'll be updating publications. For less mature things like bridge design, we'll begin to have small pilots and begin to build out some of the information requirements. At the end of 2022, we should have some reporting on progress and outcomes for the changes that we have made, and have some reference documents on how digital delivery really relates to specific use cases, since it's going to be different for each different discipline and project type. By 2023, we anticipate that we'll have completed a number of pilot projects related to roadway design authoring, and we'll be updating publications as it relates to visualization for planning. We'll be piloting bridge and drainage design, which gives us some data sets to start piloting 3D coordination and creating model-based processes for engineers' estimates. We should have a lot of reporting on progress and outcomes for a wide variety of changes at that point, and we'll have drafted some documents for a lot of those processes that create digital information. And really 2024 is the last year of consultant support. That year is going to be focused on updating the publications, but we'll still have more advanced use cases like the model-based engineers estimates being piloted. We'll be spending some time transitioning from that consultant support to PennDOT really taking over the continued development of digital delivery. And we're building our digital delivery solution around information requirements that are durable. Ultimately, we're still building and maintaining the same assets, and we need the same type of information to make those decisions. That really doesn't change. But then the software is always going to be changing and new tools emerging as well. So by 2025, there'll probably be a major update to the design software that it's going to need to be planned for. A whole new range of construction software tools. We're going to start to see the industry foundation classes, or IFC, open data really becoming widely supported by software products. We'll need to update training plans and workflows as we start to replace that proprietary information with that IFC standard. And PennDOT's going to need to work closely with consultants and contractors and their suppliers to develop, a plan to transition when that IFC information becomes contractual. As with most things, there's a lag through that supply chain before all the suppliers really switch to the newer software versions that support that IFC standard. So ultimately, too, for the future, with the advancement and development and use of models, we hope to expand the use of augmented reality for design and construction. So just a couple quick pictures of what could be coming in the future as well. So signing and sealing, it's probably one of the most common questions we encounter is like, how are deliverables going to be signed and sealed? This is kind of what you see on the screen is kind of how we do it today. It gets designed, drawings are created, we compile that drawing set, and then we sign and seal it. And that goes to the contractor, and they validate it by looking to make sure that it's been signed and sealed. That's what tells them that it's been, validated, that it's ready. In the future, without having the plans as the deliverables, our initial thoughts are planning to have that engineer of record sign and seal a document which lists all of the digital files that comprise that model. And those files will be time-stamped and will be that official version of the model. So really, what are our keys to success? We've identified some things to ensure that the digital delivery directive is successful, and it really comes down to managing expectations and making people feel empowered and in control. First of all, we need to make sure that the pace of change is appropriate, not overwhelming, but also so that people can see that things are happening, in every discipline and every district. And even if every district is involved in a pilot, most staff's not going to be directly affected, in the early years. We need to put information about our progress in a place that people can access it. As I indicated, we are working on a website so that we can disseminate information about our progress and that the industry as a whole can get a sense of when and how they're going to be affected. We also need to really create a culture where people can speak up when things don't work and ask for and receive support when it's needed. We're going to have successes and we're going to have failures, and it's really going to be important that we utilize that feedback from each of the efforts, whether they're good or bad, to really continue that journey forward. We need to have open and honest feedback to really improve and refine the workflows and the tools that are put in place. And we want people to feel empowered, not worried. Initial pilot projects, like I said, are going to be those low barrier to entry efforts with low risk and low complexity. We want to ensure project managers don't feel like they have to drop those pilot objectives, and go back to the old way of doing things to meet the letting schedule and stay within budget. And finally, we really need to plan for the possibility of things going wrong in construction. And construction partnering has been an important part of making digital delivery projects successful in other states. So partnering provides that collaborative environment and clear issue resolution processes to solve problems, and with accessing and trusting the information that's contained within those digital models. So on the screen is just a snapshot of the project website that has been set up for digital delivery. The web address is at the bottom of the page, and it's also on the next slide. So I encourage folks to take the opportunity and go out to the web page and just check out where the directive stands currently and some of the information that's out there. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. Alan's contact information as well as mine is on the screen. There is also a resource account for the digital delivery project that's listed there as well. That can be utilized for reaching out. And then the website address is also there as well. So with that, we'll take questions.
Great, thank you. Alan and Dan, thank you so much for sharing how PennDOT is embracing technology with the PennDOT's Digital Delivery Directive. This is quite an undertaking, for sure. 2025 will be here before we know it. I'm Samantha Safara, Marketing Services Manager for HDR, and I will be the Q&A facilitator today. So let's start with our top voted questions here. All right, question number one is, and there's two questions that are similar, so I'll go through both of them. There might be some nuances here. So since contractors work across state boundaries, are there efforts to standardize design and digital materials nationwide? And the similar question is about working with neighboring DOTs, and if our standard product becomes 3D models, does PennDOT expect neighboring DOTs to be ready to receive those formats?
Sure. Really with, I guess, standardizing, design, digital materials nationwide, I don't know if there's any way that we're ever going to standardize everything, but we are, as a state, involved with quite a few different groups nationwide. There is a joint technical committee on engineering electronic standards through AASHTO, which we are on that committee, working with other DOTs that have gone down this route or started to go down this route. We're actually being, carefully watched very closely by a number of DOTs, as we are looking at the Digital Delivery Directive as a holistic approach, going through design, construction, asset management. There's a lot of DOTs that have dabbled in some of the digital delivery realm, but only for certain aspects. So there are very few DOTs that have gone, sort of the whole holistic approach. Now that is starting to catch on nationwide. So the groups that we are in, working together to advance this this initiative in this sort of digital delivery realm, the BIM workflows and so forth. There's so many names out there that you'll hear in regards to this sort of technology that we're moving towards. So we are trying to work with other DOTs, again, not on the bleeding edge of everything. So we're learning a lot of stuff that way, and a lot of other DOTs are learning from what we are doing. We've held conversations with some of the neighboring states, basically asking what we're doing, how we are accomplishing this. New York has already produced a few digital delivery plans, so they are already moving into this realm. So we are talking with those states. So as we progress and get closer to, that rolling out of this information. That will definitely have to be a coordinated effort whenever we are working on a project that is, again, close to a neighboring state that we may cross state lines or, adjacent states. So that's how we are handling it at this point.
Great, thank you. All right, another question is, will the DOT or other entities offer training for design engineers, or will MicroStation or Autodesk offer those?
There is a lot of training that MicroStation and Autodesk do offer with their suite of products. But as far as the department goes, currently we are offering training on our ORD platform, utilizing the department's workspace, and it's a 2-week training that we are actually offering, and it's free of charge to even our consultant partners. So that's available through our training calendar. I'm not sure off the top of my head of when the next one is, but we do have regular offerings of that training, of the ORD training. Now, as we move towards digital delivery with the design of the models and so forth, we will be offering additional training for, those users that are either working on pilot projects or, and as we, again, implement this, we will have to develop training and provide that training as well. The way the department is looking at this is we are trying to develop this as a team with not only the internal department folks, but with ACEC, APC, so the Pennsylvania Turnpike. We have, tried to develop this, again, not, in a single silo, that we're getting buy-in and feedback from all of the different entities that will be affected by this, and always looking for that feedback. So that training we will be offering here as we move forward and develop that.
Well, that's great. And it's always best to have that collaborative effort too.
Yes.
It's very good. Great. Okay, here's another question. Does PennDOT have any plans to digitize existing assets, create digital twins to help supplement any field survey efforts?
Our ultimate goal is to create that digital twin of our entire network. Now, that is going to take some time to develop, but thinking with that, that end in mind is, again, creating that digital twin of our entire network. I know there's will be different software, and we've seen some demonstrations as far as gathering some of those assets. But yes, that will be something that we do look at here as we move forward, because we do want to create that digital twin of our entire network.
Wow. All right. Here's another question that came in. Any idea how existing geotechnical conditions and underground utilities will be modeled 3D? Will there be a way to differentiate quality levels?
Yes, similar to that slide I showed with the ribbon. Depending on the quality level, is going to depend on how big that ribbon actually is. Of course, the more information that we have or gather from subsurface utility and exploration and so forth, we'll be able to pin those down a lot tighter. But if it's a lower quality level and you need a bigger ribbon, we can do that, and it will be able to show your hard clashes, your soft clashes of where we think it may be, drainage, utilities, and so forth. So there are so many things that we will be able to do as we move into the 3D realm, and then actually keep all of that subsurface utility information. So whenever there is, going back to a little bit of that digital twin, is whenever a utility puts in any asset within our right-of-way, requiring that, those coordinates of where that is. So building that back into our digital twin, so we have that in our, our repertoire, our, asset management system, that we'll be able to identify that for future projects.
Wow. All right. Will 3D models be expected for temporary designs like detour plans?
I would assume, that's again could be one of those 2D objects that could be, represented by a 2D plan. Detour plans, again, would be one of those ones that don't necessarily lend themselves to being done in 3D. So there will be some things that, will still be done in 2D that you can still draft, and that's probably one of them. We haven't gotten to that point as far as making that call, but my initial thought would be, yes, that would be a 2D plan that is, included or attached to that model.
Great, thank you. Well, it looks like that is time for, we don't have any more time for questions. There was a question in here about contacting, contact information for after this session. And as you can see, it's on the slide here, and it will be available on the YouTube channel as well. So I wanted to just thank everybody for joining us.